Hi, I'm Natalie Keyssar. I'm a documentary photographer based in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm a Canon explorer of light. And today I'm going to show you guys what Canon gear goes in my camera bag. For this video, what I want to talk about is not all of my possible gear options, which thanks to Canon, I actually have 3 camera bodies that I work with sometimes, but I usually only bring 2. One of my big principles as a photojournalist is that I want to keep things light. I don't want to have a ton of stuff weighing me down. I want to have my favorite essential pieces that I can use to really make the most beautiful images, the most efficient way, and not have to carry a whole bunch of stuff. So most of my assignments are documentary in nature, which kind of means it could be anything. My days vary a whole lot. Sometimes it's a portrait assignment. A lot of times it's covering an event or a breaking news situation. Sometimes I'm working on long form human interest stories. And of course, things will change a little bit, but generally speaking, I'm gonna have one Canon camera body, one backup Canon camera body, and 3, max 4 lenses. And that's gonna be it. And at any given time, I might have 2 cameras over my shoulder, or I might just be using one at a time. I work in a lot of different situations. Sometimes I'm photographing a VIP or somebody who's in the news a lot and it's a portrait situation and I'm in the same place all day. And sometimes I might be, with my backpack, no idea where I'm gonna end up and not wanting to be too flashy or attract too much attention to my gear. So it really depends. But this is my sort of reliable everyday, I just got a phone call, I'm going out on assignment kit that I know I'm gonna have everything I need and a little more in case anything goes wrong, because anybody who's interested in documentary photography knows that things will definitely go wrong. So you wanna have your bases covered. So this is my bag. It's a little bag. I think that's also one of my favorite sort of philosophies is if the gear doesn't fit in my relatively small backpack, then it's probably too much and I need to get rid of something. So that's a good baseline when you're going out, is if you have to, for me personally, if it needs wheels, it's too much stuff. That's not the case for everybody, but for my type of work it is. So the first camera that I want to show you guys today is the Canon EOS R. This, as I'm sure many of you know, is one of Canon's mirrorless bodies. It's beautiful, it's compact, and it's such a great workhorse. And so usually when I'm packing my bag, I'm bringing either this or my Canon EOS Mark IV, which we're actually using to shoot the video today. But usually those 2 are interchangeable, and I think of them a little bit as, this is my workhorse camera. This is gonna be great in low light. It has what I'm shooting it with today, and what I'm usually shooting it with is the RF 24-70mm 2.8 zoom lens, USM. And this setup for me is it's just so versatile. It means that I can basically have one body, one lens in my hands, and I can work in a protest, I can shoot my portraits, on the fly. And so this lens basically covers all the focal lengths that I use with very few exceptions, and it's just in such a sort of compact, powerful package. And so yeah, like I've got this, I really already have my bases covered, and it's a beautiful piece of equipment. So thank you, Canon. I'm really happy to use this one. And wherever this goes right now, I'm also bringing this little converter, which will allow me to use my EF system lenses with the mirrorless body. And that's, I think, been really important in the process of transitioning between my DSLRs and the mirrorless system, because it allows all of my lenses to translate over, which means I've got this this is a tiny package, and that way I don't have to worry about not having my lenses be compatible when I'm out on assignment. So that's really useful. And then my other body, which is really my baby, is the Canon EOS 5D SR. I love this camera because, among other things, this camera doesn't have a low pass filter, which means that the images are so much sharper and I really see a difference. And I'm using this camera when I just want the best possible image quality, when I really want to nail a portrait, or I'm like really focused on the color and light in an image, and I'm in a maybe slightly less run and gun situation, although realistically almost all of my situations are run and gun. But this camera for me makes some of the most beautiful images that I've made, and I really love it. And you can tell that I really love it because it's pretty beaten up at this point. It's coated in dust from my last shoot. I really need to send it to get its service. And unfortunately for everyone in the documentary world, you will probably recognize this, that your most loved gear really takes a beating. But that's why I really rely on my Canon cameras to be so sturdy. They stand up to dirt, jostling crowds, the more than occasional dropping of the camera, rain, you name it, this camera's been through it, and it's still making my favorite pictures. So I really love this guy. And right now I've got the EOS 35mm USM lens on it, which is, it's really a thing of beauty. It's perfect in almost all circumstances. I almost always either have this or the 50, which I'll show you guys in a second, on this camera. And you know, the 35 is a classic. I really like working with non-zoom lenses when I can. In fact, for the first 8 years of my career, I never used a single zoom lens, and I think it, you know, this is a bit of a stereotype, but I think it's really useful. I think having to zoom with your feet, especially as a photojournalist, is a really useful skill to develop, and it really forces you to think about your body position and dance with people that you're photographing. And I really believe in that, and I think it's made me a better photographer. And it, you know, honestly, if I was stranded on a desert island, this would probably be what I brought. But as I'm saying that, my heart's breaking a little bit for my 50mm. So maybe that's not true, but it would be one of those two. So yeah, and really sort of the way I think about it a little bit is when I'm really thinking about beauty, it's this setup. When I'm really thinking about efficiency, it's the R with the 2470. In between those two things, I feel pretty gear invincible, you know? So those are the sort of foundations of my setup, which, as we talked about, isn't that extensive. But I want to show you guys, first of all, my other favorite lens. There's a little bit of a pattern here you may be noticing. I call all my lens my favorite lens. I swear I'm not one of those people that like says everything is their favorite and like doesn't mean it authentically. I think all of this gear is kind of my favorite, so just bear with me. A girl can have many favorites. And this is, I really truly love this lens. This is the Canon EF 50mm 1.2 USM. I've had this guy for, wow, maybe like some definite years. I don't know where the lens cap is. I'm probably confessing too much in this video. When I truly love a lens, the lens cap is lost. That's like one of those Murphy's laws, I think. But this is a beautiful portrait lens. When I really want to slow down, when I'm trying to think about photographing in a quieter, more thoughtful way, when I really need to add some details to my stories, when the light just got really low, that 1.2 can be super clutch. There's so many circumstances that this lens, to me, really adds that variety and that difference of focal length and that difference of thought processing for me when I'm photographing a photo essay. The 35 or the 24-70 is really covering my bases in terms of storytelling, shooting wider, capturing everything. Things are moving fast, but it's the 50 that really gets those intimate moments, that brings me a little closer, forces me in just a little bit tighter without being too tight, so that I can really create a more intimate photograph or a different kind of image. It makes me work a little bit slower, so I really love it for that. Slowing down and thinking is probably the most important thing about being a documentary photographer. It's honestly much more important than gear, so I like gear that makes me do that. So yeah, this is my 50, my other favorite lens. And then finally, last on the glass menu today is my Canon EF 135mm f2L lens. So this is my definition of a zoom lens. And I know you guys are out there probably thinking like, but you're a photojournalist. Like, you got to get all up in the action. You have to zoom in on people's nostrils when you're really far away from them. And not just nostrils and unglamorous things, but you really have to be able to get in tight. And what I like to get close to what I'm photographing. And I really, really prefer not to have to use a zoom lens because I always think I'm better if I'm feeling what's happening. But there are many, many circumstances, whether it's for safety or because some unkind professional PR person, security guard, whatever the case may be, will not allow you to get close to the thing you're photographing. That happens a ton. And in that case, I have this really compact 135mm lens that gets me much closer than my other lenses, but it's really, really light, and it, I can throw it in my bag without it adding that much weight. And the other thing is that it's beautiful. It's super fast. It's really like a high quality piece of glass. I can also use this as a portrait lens in a pinch when I really want to get close. So I love this for its lightness, its versatility, and its speed, and it's also a great addition to my kit. And then the last secret part of my sauce, which is obviously not a secret because it's about to go on Canon's YouTube channel, which you guys should all like and follow if you haven't already, is my speed light, which is maybe the most beat up part of my gear, if that's any indication of how much I love it. But this is the 600EX RT Canon speed light. I love it to death. I have loved it to death. It's so scratched up. I think it also takes a beating because it's really in your hand. I shoot this a lot with a hot shoe cord, or I also have this Canon speedlight transmitter, the STE3RT. And being able to photograph with this speedlight with one of these wireless transmitters is super useful to me in my practice because I love to add a little bit of light. I think it really sort of can change up the look in documentary photography. Especially I'm working in situations constantly where I don't have a lot of control. The light could be terrible. I could still need to file a good picture in 15 minutes. Everything could be backlit. Part of one of the major tenets of photojournalism is that I don't control scenes, right? I have to work with what exists. I can't tell people to pose because that's not journalism. And so being able to have this powerful handheld light that's a little bit off camera with that transmitter so that I can really just sort of pop it on the go really helps me up the image quality quickly and easily. And I usually just put this in a little belt pouch so that I can use it on and off whenever I need to. So this is such a super useful tool for me. And I think that's about it in terms of all of the, big Canon gear that I'm using, and small. Some of them are small and mighty. Other than that, I've just got my memory cards, as many extra batteries as I can remember to charge and fit. I still always try to bring a pen on assignment. Analog little piece of gear, but you really don't want to be caught out there taking notes on your cell phone when your cell phone dies. So that's highly recommended if you're a photojournalist. Press pass, some cleaning cloths, and that's about it. So if you stayed with me this far, I hope you liked it. I hope that nobody's too disappointed in me for beating up on my gear so badly or showing some of it when it clearly needs a deep clean. But thank you so much for checking this out, and I hope you will follow Canon USA's YouTube channel and like this video. You'll be able to, there's so many other really cool videos like this, so many great photographers, other Canon explorers of light who I've checked out. I've learned a lot from what they're carrying. So please check all that out, like, subscribe, and thank you for tuning in.